Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Ben from the Taking Initiative Party. Do start.
Do you want me to stand up? Or?
Yes, I think it might be better for people
Okay.
to see you.
Cool stuff, no problem. Welcome everybody, and thank you all for being here. This is a great opportunity. My name is Ben Ando, or Benjamin Ando, but I like Ben for short. I'm part of the Taking the Initiative Party. I'm running for West Thornton Ward. And I really believe that we can make a difference. Taking the Initiative is a group of individuals who believe in balance. So we're not part of the left-hand side or the right-hand side, as people like to pull it as. We're just people that believe in balance. We believe in entrepreneurship. We believe in local businesses, and we are local business men and women who have come together to say, you know what, we want to make a change. One of the things that I do stand for when it comes to West Thornton is number one, drug uses and clamping that down. Number two, the environment. Of course, I know that that's across Croydon in general. And then also number three, youth empowerment and mental well-being. I really believe that it's important for us to come together with people within the community to help the community. It really makes sense when the community who already live within the areas of Croydon know exactly what's going on so that we can help and support. Already, even if we don't get elected, we're doing the work anyways. And I really believe that it's important that whether you're elected or you're not, you're doing something for your community, because that's the most important thing. A little bit about myself is that I'm also a pastor as well. So I pastor a lot of young people across the board of London, going across the UK to Ghana, Nigeria, etc. So I travel quite a bit helping young people find their way and their path to doing the right thing, as well as I also go to the prisons as well. So I'm based in Pentonville Prison, and we're trying to work on getting into Brixton Prison as well. We help reform the lives of those people that have committed crimes and help them to see where they've gone wrong, so that when they do come out, they have something better to do, and we can help them through that journey. Also, I work with local charities and churches and different religious groups as well to help reform their area and to help reform characters as well. I believe as well, you know, with the communication that I've been doing with the local Metropolitan Police and also at Scotland Yard, we have the upper hand. I've sat in meetings with Scotland Yard and some of the police constables to identify exactly what are the problems within Croydon and within the UK in general. And we realise that sometimes it's not about going for the small things, it's about going for the larger problems at large. So for example, rather than me going for the small child that is handling drugs, I'm going for the person that is supplying the drugs. And we know exactly where these problems are arising, and we've been having conversations. TTIP is about taking the initiative, and I really believe that with you guys voting for us, it's about time that we make that change. You know, I'm not coming here to come after Labour or Conservatives or the Green Party or whatever, but I just believe that it's time for Croydon to see a difference. How many believe that? Yeah, I believe that it's time for us to see the difference. Why? Because we live within the community. I've been around, I've been speaking to neighbours, I've been speaking to community helpers, I've been speaking to volunteers who go around the neighbourhood watch. And one of the things that they've said is that, Ben, we have not seen people be present. We don't even know who they are. But funny enough, they only appear when it comes to the voting times. And so for the fact that we're actually in the area and we're actually already doing a difference or making a difference, I think it's time for us to make this official, if that makes sense. You know, I've got a good friend of mine here, Bada, and I've got Carl as well, who are running for different wards, and we have many other people as well running for different wards, and of course, Farah, who's running for Mayor of Croydon. And I believe that if you guys vote for us, it's time to make a change. And then do you know what? It's better also just to see the change and what would happen. What's the worst that could happen without you trusting someone that can actually make a difference? And so my name is Ben Ando, running for West Thornton councilman, but also for Farah, who's running for Croydon Council. I really believe that TTIP can make that difference that we've all been waiting for. Thank you.
Richard Harris. I'm one of the three Conservative candidates in the Thornton Heath ward. 4 years ago, I chose to make Croydon my home. I'm not a native Croydonian, as you can probably tell from the way that I speak. This borough, to me, is full of loyal, hardworking and aspirational people. The very values that make me a Conservative also make me a Croydonian. And we, the Conservative Party, under Jason Perry's leadership, have a vision for Croydon that is taking it in a new direction to what it's been in the last 8 years. Clean streets, reduce crime, and financial stability. 3 basic living standards that have been lost following 8 years of Labour administration. And how are we going to do it? Well, we start by listening to you, the people of Croydon and the people of Thornton Heath. I've led on a programme of campaigning on the priorities that matter to you, the people of Croydon, such as traffic management, crime and community safety, and also, obviously, the appalling sale of Heath Lodge. Stopping overspending, managing contracts properly and using the powers that already exist properly. Returning the graffiti removal team that should never have been removed in the first place. It is one thing that makes this borough look and feel unloved and uncared for and unwanted, and it's no wonder nobody wants to invest in this borough anymore, because it looks like an eyesore, so why does anybody want to come in and use it? I'm not in politics for money. I'm not even in politics to be liked. I'm in politics to make a difference, to change the way that people live and to make it better for people to live in Croydon. That's the way that I've always worked in politics, and I have a record of doing that over the last 13 years, everywhere that I have been. Don't just hope for a better Croydon, join me in voting for one.
As Chair mentioned, my name is Humayun Kabir. I'm a local councillor in Bensham, Manor. I've been a councillor for last 12 years, and I was fortunate enough to be, or humble enough to be the mayor of Croydon in 2019 and 2020, and a deputy mayor year before. So as a councillor, I just want to start with my family. I'm a married man with 3 grown-up children. I have my families living in Croydon, like brothers and cousins, sisters. And first thing, why I wanted to be a councillor? I asked myself, that is 12 years ago. And the first thing was in my mind was that I was working in the community in different role as a community activist, working with different communities, working with faith group, and started doing casework. And some of my friends, some of my colleagues inspired me, encouraged me to put my name forward to be a councillor. And I thought, well, if I become a councillor, then maybe hopefully I can do in a fashion that is more official, is help them, I'll be able to help them more. So this is the opportunity that I took up 12 years ago. And since then I've been doing lots of casework. And I opened myself to our community as a full-time 24/7 casework through social media, email, surgery, community group meetings, and taking on specific cases, especially with housing, overcrowding, and issues with people having debts, poverty, and all that issues. So this is what I have been doing for last 12 years. As a councillor, I have introduced something called Councillor's Walk, and number of Thornton Heath Action Team committee members are familiar with that. I would go out almost once a month with a NSO officer. I'll take particular couple of streets in my ward, walk around, look at the streets, look at some gardens that are appalling and some gardens are beautiful. So if it's a appalling garden, we'll praise them, and if it's a really bad garden, we'll talk to the owner of that garden to say, look, you need to do something because this is not good for your neighbors, this is not good for, it's an eyesore, and ask the NSO officer to take specific action, where maybe 3-4 weeks later, you will see that garden is looking much better. I have reported thousands of fly tips during my council's years. Because I live local, I take my phone, I will go walk about. If I see something, I'll make sure that I report it and it's clear. Now, as a one question rises to me: why all this fly tipping and all this happening? When I became a councillor 12 years ago, first thing I looked at the budget of Croydon. And at that time, 12 years ago, 937 million grant was coming from central government. Now, you might like to guess how much is at the moment. 36 million. Now, all this money, about 80% has disappeared in last 10, 12 years. Now, what our administration didn't do, it cut the services accordingly. Now, if we had cut and shrunk the services accordingly, maybe we would have been in a better place. The administration continued to provide the service until COVID came, and we all know that we had to spend additional money to meet the needs of our vulnerable communities. The government promised us that they will reimburse all the costs that we will incur during COVID. What happened? After 2 years, after 2.5 years, when we billed them, 25% was paid less. 25%. So Croydon was put on an awkward situation. Government encouraged local governments to invest in properties in local market, especially in buying hotels and colonnade, shopping center and all that. Accordingly, we did. What happened? COVID came, Croydon Hotel had no visitors. There was no money coming in. So last 3-4 years was awful for Croydon. Now things are getting better. Today, for first time, I went to my GP and I was just able to walk in because services are becoming normal. So like that, councils are becoming normal. We have a balanced budget for next 1.5 years. We have managed whichever way we best to our ability last 1.5 years. All the services are almost intact, apart from few services here and there that is not statutory services. All the statutory services are intact. Your bin is still being collected as we promised. Occasionally, there was whole nation had issues with HSGP driver, with fuel shortage, and because of that, there was a little bit of issues. But everything is back to normal, and we are ready to make a lot of improvement after May 5th. So here we are. We had issues. We have resolved it, and we are working with our mayoral candidate, Val Shawcross, who has been here, gave her plan, a new direction, a direction to move forward, a direction to put things right. We do say that there was issue, and we have planned to put them in right.
So time to wrap up, please.
I like to just mention I have two energetic candidates with me. That is one present is Eunice here, and Enid. They come from local community. They have vast experience of working in the community and take this our Bensham Manor ward forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Linda said my name's Graham Mitchell. I'm an independent candidate and I'm standing in Bensham Manor ward, so I'm a bit of a rare animal that there's only 2 independents in the whole of Croydon. Andrea's the other one, and it's a bit of a different setup from the 2-party or 3-party system that we see. I'll try and explain who I am and why I've decided to stand. Like I'm a professional.
That's just a reminder to turn your phones off. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm Graham, an independent candidate. I'm standing in Bensham Manor ward. I've lived in Bensham Manor ward for 25 years. I'm married to Karen. Karen was had a bad accident in 2018. She's disabled, so I'm her unpaid carer now. I've been retired since last September. Prior to that, I was a senior tax manager and with a firm of accountants and business advisors. And before that, I was an inspector of taxes with HM Revenue and Customs. Okay, maybe not popular professions, but at least they stand me in good stead for counting up numbers, which Labour hasn't been very good at over the last 8 years. My background, so why have I decided to stand and why do I think I could make a good councillor? There's a local newspaper inside Croydon described me said about me recently. Graham Mitchell has been a busy community activist for many years. His frustration with a Labour-run council sees him choose to run as an independent in his own ward. So what are those community activist skills? And I've worked with THCAT for probably 5 or 6, maybe 7 years now. I turn up to most of the events, and in 2018 I was honoured to receive a mayoral award in the category, which is quite ironic now. Don't mess with Croydon, take pride. The state of our streets doesn't really reflect the work that volunteers do. I'm also the chair of the Friends of Thornton Heath Recreation Ground. I do my bit in the community garden on a Sunday, and I'm chair of the Bensham Manor Safer Neighbourhood Team Panel. So probably the question you're probably asking, so you mentioned you were an independent, Graham, so why an independent? Quite frankly, I don't feel that party politics is particularly relevant in local government now. A lot of local government could easily run on good decision making, management and budgeting. If party politics is a good thing, then it hasn't really shown its face over the last 12 years in Croydon. I just think that traditional party politics are corrosive at a local level now and serve little purpose. As an independent, I can't be whipped to vote in a certain way. My guidance comes from everybody here. You tell me how to vote. I vote for the things that you think are good and right. So how do we manage to get good and right decisions? Well, in the past, or at present even, what we have is a situation where decisions are made for us, then we get a consultation at the end of the day which has a series of set questions, and we don't get any change. We need the power to come back into the community. Back in 2018, the Labour Council had an item in the manifesto for a review of governance. The review was done, but none of the actual recommendations, which were really good, were actually implemented. The only one thing that was round having people meeting councillors on a regular basis at forums and panels and actually having direct access to council officers. The one thing that was introduced was a housing improvement board, and that wasn't from the governance review, that was by the housing regulator who forced it on Croydon Council because of Regina Road scandal. So I'm going to try and, how long have I got?
Another 1 minute 32 seconds.
Okay, thank you. I'll try and summarise. So I don't want to go too far back into the past, but Councillor Kabir did. Every time I go to a meeting, I hear about the cut in funding from central government. It's one of the reasons, but Councillor Kabir doesn't mention the business rates retention scheme. The government balanced off the cut in funding by letting the councils keep more money from business rates. Now, Croydon has failed to build the actual tax base. They could keep more money if they had actually built it. They actually put all their eggs in one basket in Westfield and it failed miserably. So, and there's lots of other things. You know, the CEO of Croydon and the leader of the cabinet went to parliamentary committee and they accepted that the findings in 2 reports, so well, one of the things was complete corporate blindness. They weren't listening to the auditors, and they did. Also, I won't say nothing to do with the cut in funding, but I think there are excuses being made, and Croydon hasn't actually got over that. And it's appalling that the Meals and Wheels service has been cut to save £24,000. So that's how salami thin our services are being cut by Labour. So I want to reset that. I want things to be done properly. I want people like me to stand up and say this is wrong, get it right, or get out, basically. Too many managers at Croydon, I think, are incapable of doing things properly. So we need to look at budgets. Viola's one. council says we've got our bins collected. Not on Penshouse Road, we don't. No, they weren't collected last week or the week before that. So there's still failings, and it needs to be fixed. So
time to wrap up.
okay, I'll just wrap it up by saying that I'm leading on giving the power back to the community, getting things done right, and letting local people actually make decisions on services, etc., that actually affect them. So thank you for listening to me.
I have to put my glasses on. Hello everyone, I'm Andrea Perry, and I'm standing as an independent in the Thornton Heath ward because I believe this is the best chance we as a community have to change politics for the better in Croydon. I moved to Thornton Heath 9 years ago, and anyone who knows me will know how much time I've volunteered to improve our green spaces, streets, and organise events to benefit the life of Thornton Heath. It was the main reason for setting up the Thornton Heath Chronicle, because I believe the area needed a voice. I'd lived in Lambeth before and found the council receptive to community needs. What I found here was a completely different story. A council unwilling to really listen to local people and incapable of delivering basic services. 6 years ago, when I went to the council to plead the case for the Grangewood Parks playground to be updated, it was over 40 years old and so dangerous that pieces of equipment had to be removed. The answer I got was simply no. It has taken 6 years of petitions and constant lobbying to get to the point of a new playground opening in June. It shouldn't have to be like this. It should be that the council and its representatives work together to make these improvements and to invest in our community, but instead everything is a constant battle. This was the case long before the council went bankrupt, and it's nothing to do with the money or funding, it's to do with a mentality. I believe we deserve better and should be getting more value for our increasing council tax. But instead, our community assets like Heath Lodge and Callet are being sold off. The council has been embroiled in a litany of scandals, but for me, it should be able to get the basics right. But last year, we couldn't even get the job of cutting the grass right. Our streets are covered in graffiti and fly tipping, and people endure noise and antisocial behaviour, with the council taking years, if at all, to solve basic issues of enforcement. For far too long, Thornton Heath has been used as a dumping ground by neighbouring local councils because housing is cheap, and Croydon has allowed large Victorian houses to be carved up for houses of multiple occupancy. Many of the people housed here are vulnerable with mental health issues, yet they get little to no support. And since Croydon's failed to renew their landlord licensing scheme, housing conditions are now allowed to go unchecked. A survey conducted by the council for its community safety strategy highlighted that both young people and girls in particular avoided Thornton Heath because they felt it was unsafe, which is unsurprising given high levels of violence, especially domestic abuse in this ward. So many of these issues have been left to fester, so much so that people either become disillusioned or simply move, which is what I find so sad when this community has such great heart and spirit. So I return to why I believe it's time for a change. I have a can-do attitude, and most of all, I care. I live here, I live not 5 minutes from this church. Voting for an independent is your best chance of being properly represented, because I'll be fighting for you, not for a political party. Thank you.